As we rush through aisles of supermarkets and unwrap instant meals, have we lost something essential about how we eat? Did ancient civilizations, with their simple routines and limited choices, actually eat better than we do today? Let's journey back to the banks of the Nile, the hills of Greece, and the valleys of ancient China to uncover what truly nourished our ancestors. By comparing their earth-grown fare with our modern factory-made diet, we can unravel what it really means to be well-fed. Imagine stepping back in time thousands of years ago. Picture an ancient Egyptian family as the sun rises over the Nile. They're starting their day with a simple yet nourishing porridge of emmer wheat. This grain, a predecessor to modern wheat, formed the basis of their daily sustenance. This humble porridge was often sweetened with the natural goodness of honey and dates, adding a touch of sweetness to their morning meal. These ingredients were not only delicious but also provided essential energy for the day ahead. As the day progressed, their main meal would consist of flatbread, a staple in their diet, accompanied by a hearty lentil stew, and perhaps, if they were fortunate, a rare piece of fish caught from the river. Fish was a prized source of protein. Meat, however, was a luxury, reserved for special occasions and the wealthy elite. Now let's journey to ancient Greece, where bread, olives, and figs and creamy goat cheese formed the core of their daily meals. These simple ingredients were readily available and provided essential nutrients. Fresh vegetables and protein-rich legumes were a constant presence at every table, adding variety and balance to their diet. And of course, olive oil was a staple, a cornerstone of Greek cuisine. It was used not just for cooking, adding flavor to every dish, but also as a vital source of calories, essential for energy and overall health. Shifting eastward to ancient China, millet was king, the primary grain that sustained the population. This versatile grain was often paired with a variety of locally grown vegetables, and for those who could afford it, a touch of pork or chicken. Meat was used sparingly, adding flavor and richness to the meal without being the central focus. Across these ancient civilizations, meals were simple, often repetitive, and deeply connected to the land, reflecting the rhythms of nature and the seasons. Today, in stark contrast, our diets are often dominated by refined grains, stripped of their nutrients. We consume processed meats, laden with additives, and sugary snacks, offering empty calories and little nutritional value. The shift from field to factory, from whole foods to processed products, has fundamentally changed not just what we eat, but how we nourish ourselves, impacting our health and well-being in profound ways. Ancient diets thrived on whole natural foods. Grains like emmer and einkorn were ground whole, rich in fiber and nutrients. Vegetables and fruits were central, eaten in season and in variety. Minimal processing, pickling, fermenting, pressing often enhanced nutrition. No artificial additives, no chemical preservatives. Flavor came from the ingredients themselves, not a lab. This reliance on whole foods meant meals were nutrient-dense and low in empty calories. Every meal was a direct transfer of the Earth's vitality. In contrast, our modern diet is often stripped, altered, and far removed from its natural source. In ancient times, meat was a significantly rarer commodity than it is today. It wasn't something readily available at every meal. Instead, it was often reserved as a special treat, carefully rationed for festivals, important ceremonies, or other significant occasions. Meat held a symbolic weight. For the vast majority of people, most meals were primarily plant-based, with hearty grains like wheat and barley, alongside protein-rich legumes such as lentils and beans, forming the cornerstones of their daily sustenance. These were the true staples. When meat was eaten, it wasn't just consumed casually. It was deeply valued, and every single part of the animal was utilized fully, demonstrating respect for the life that was taken. Bones were simmered for nourishing broth, and organs, often overlooked today, were highly prized for their concentrated nutrients and unique flavors. Animals typically lived far more natural lives, roaming freely and grazing on open pastures. This resulted in meat that was generally leaner, richer in essential nutrients, and arguably more flavorful than much of what we consume today. This infrequent consumption of meat, coupled with a diet rich in plant-based foods, likely contributed to lower risks of chronic diseases like heart disease and certain types of cancer, promoting overall well-being. plant proteins readily available in foods like lentils and beans provided a wealth of essential amino acids and other vital nutrients, all without the burden of excessive saturated fat, often associated with meat consumption. The overall approach to food was inherently balanced, sustainable, and deeply connected to the rhythms of nature. They were resourceful, making sure to waste absolutely nothing. Today, in stark contrast, meat has become a daily expectation for many, often leading to issues of overconsumption, ethical concerns, and significant food waste. The ancient way of eating was rooted in moderation, respect for resources, and a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of food and health. It's a valuable lesson in mindful eating and sustainable living that we can still learn from and apply to our modern lives. The modern diet is dominated by ultra-processed foods stripped of nutrients, loaded with sugar, salt, and artificial additives. Fast food and packaged snacks have replaced home-cooked whole meals for many. Added sugars, once rare, are now hidden in countless products, overwhelming our bodies. Foods are engineered to be irresistible, encouraging us to eat more than we need. Advertising normalizes these choices, making processed snacks and sugary drinks everyday staples. Most daily calories now come from foods our ancestors wouldn't recognize. This grand experiment is fueling rising rates of obesity, diabetes, and chronic disease. The cost of convenience is becoming painfully clear. Ancient diets, rich in whole grains, legumes, vegetables, and fruits, align closely with what science now calls optimal nutrition. High in fiber and antioxidants, low in saturated fat and sugar, these diets protected against chronic disease. Food was local, seasonal, and grown with care for the land. Agriculture relied on natural cycles, not fossil fuels or synthetic chemicals. The result, a smaller environmental footprint and a more resilient food system. Today's globalized industrial food system is resource-intensive and polluting. Monocultures and heavy processing threaten both our health and the planet. Ancient diets were superior, not because of magic, but because they were balanced and sustainable. They nourished both people and the earth. And so did ancient civilizations, those societies that laid the foundation for our modern world, eat better than us? It's a question that prompts us to reflect on our current dietary habits and compare them to those of our ancestors. In many ways, yes. Their diets, often dictated by the seasons and the local environment, were surprisingly nutritious and well-balanced. Their diets were healthier and more sustainable, relying on farming practices that respected the land and promoted biodiversity. This was shaped by necessity and natural limits, forcing them to consume what was available and in season. We can't return to the past, to a time before processed foods and industrial agriculture, but we can learn from it, gleaning valuable insights from their traditional food ways. The wisdom is simple: eat whole foods, prioritizing minimally processed options that retain their natural nutrients. Put plants at the center, making fruits, vegetables, and legumes the foundation of your meals. Treat meat as a luxury, consuming it in moderation and choosing sustainably sourced options when possible. And reconnect with where our food comes from, supporting local farmers and understanding the journey from farm to table. Even small steps, cooking from scratch using fresh ingredients to create nourishing meals at home, visiting a farmer's market to source local and seasonal produce. Growing a garden can make a difference, contributing to a healthier lifestyle and a more sustainable food system. The ancient diet isn't a prescription, a rigid set of rules to follow blindly, but an inspiration, a source of guidance for making informed food choices. By embracing these principles, by prioritizing whole, unprocessed foods and plant-based meals, we can rediscover the pleasure and health, the joy and vitality that comes from nourishing our bodies with wholesome foods, of eating real food, food that connects us to the earth and to our ancestors. The path to a healthier future, a future where food nourishes both our bodies and the planet, may begin by listening to the echoes from ancient kitchens, learning from the wisdom of those who came before us.